The vibe in the room shifted so hard it probably broke the sound barrier. One look at her face, and his brain just blue screened. He is standing there, buffering, trying to figure out why the air suddenly feels heavy enough to crush a tank. But let's be real, his gut was already screaming the answer. The scriptwriters had officially started the drama engine, and there was no turning back now. Let's hit the rewind button to his first attempt at sliding into the DMs. IRL edition. He dragged Tokujira out to the courtyard, sweating like he was about to defuse a bomb, just desperate for a single W in the chat. His heart was trying to escape his ribcage, beating a drum solo of pure panic. He opened his mouth, and the words tumbled out like a bag of rocks. And her reaction? Zero. Zilch. Nada. She didn't even blink. She just closed her eyes, took a breath, and prepared to absolutely dismantle this man's entire career. She looked him dead in the optic stems and told him his existence was basically a typo. That is not just a rejection, folks. That is a straight-up fatality. He shuffled away, spirit completely deleted from the server. We are talking critical emotional damage. Someone get this man a revive. But because the universe has a sick sense of humor, the teacher decided right then was the perfect time to call on him. He is staring at a math problem while his soul is still floating halfway to the ceiling. Talk about bad timing. The teacher tries to get a response, but Kitaru is mentally AFK. He is spiraling over the rejection, running a diagnostic on his life and realizing there is a critical error in his source code. Then the teacher accidentally drops a tactical nuke. He asks if the math problem is out of the question, and Kitaru's trauma trigger gets pulled faster than a quick-draw cowboy. He goes nuclear. Veins pop on his forehead like roadmaps, and his eyes glow with pure menace. He screams back, demanding to know why his very existence is trashed here. Then the adrenaline crash hits. He freezes, realizes he is screaming at a geometry proof, and frantically apologizes to the room full of terrified NPCs. Too late. The class is shook. He knows the problem isn't his personality, it is his resting villain face scaring everyone off again. Talk about a debuff, but he cannot let the villain vibes win. He has to patch this glitch immediately if he ever wants to unlock a dialogue tree with her. Speaking of the boss battle, enter Aoi Tokujira, the school's S-tier celebrity and the undisputed queen of the campus hierarchy. She has got an ego the size of the moon. She boycotted the entrance ceremony out of sheer boredom, yet guys still line up to offer tributes like she is a deity. Bad move. She shreds them. We are talking emotional game ending on sight. Zero hesitation. She sends their self-esteem straight to the lobby. The rejection rate is 100%. The jealous crowd hates her guts, so she exiled herself to the library, earning the nickname the Thorn Princess. 1 week later, Kitaru decides to step into the dungeon. But here is the kicker. There is a twist regarding those rumors that nobody saw coming. Even at his part-time gig, Kitaru is taking L's. His coworkers are roasting his serial killer eyes like he isn't standing right there. The audacity is off the charts. He doesn't even rage. He just sighs, calculating how many civilians he has accidentally terrified today. It is a rough existence. He accepts the slander as his daily bread. But just when he thinks the day is over, actual human contact happens. It is her. She hands him a book, and he flinches like she just threw a grenade. His survival instincts are completely fried, but she just stares blankly, drops the loot, and despawns. No drama. Just a cold, efficient transaction that leaves his brain buffering. Back in class, his CPU is overheating. He is replaying the memory in 4K, convinced she looked him dead in the soul. The teacher catches him daydreaming and calls him out. The whole class erupts into laughter while Kitaru tries to pick up the pieces of his dignity. Panic sets in. He tries to deflect and accidentally volunteers for the library committee. Rookie mistake. You never volunteer. Now he is the teacher's errand boy. He marches down the hall with a mountain of books, cursing his inability to keep his mouth shut. He gaslights himself into thinking she won't be there at lunch. But as he grabs the door handle, the doom music kicks in. He walked right into the trap. He steps inside and the temperature in the room drops below freezing. There she is, the final boss of the library, just sitting there menacingly. Target acquired, but she is totally AFK. He spots her snoozing in the sunlight. Even though she already crushed his heart and sent it to the lobby, he is still down bad, staring at her like a total creep. He tries to focus on his job, but nature decides to troll him. A rogue flower petal lands right on her nose, triggering a twitch response. It is ruining the aesthetic. He calculates the risks. One wrong move and it is game over. But he reaches out anyway, attempting a surgical extraction on the sleeping target. Disaster strikes. He freezes, looking exactly like a criminal caught in 4K. He throws his hands up, spewing excuses at Mach speed. He swears he was not trying to score some free culture points. He is fighting for his life right now. She hits him with the ultimate question. Did he touch her? He denies it instantly, blaming the flower petal, but she does not rage. She just doubles over, looking like his mere presence made her physically ill. That is an emotional critical hit. She tries a tactical retreat, but he panics. He lunges forward and grabs her wrist. Major rookie mistake. He begs her to wait. She snaps, screaming at the top of her lungs to let her go. She recoils like he is radioactive material. He realizes he has completely misread the room. Desperate to save the run, he drops a 90-degree bow. He apologizes for everything, praying he did not just get permabanned from her life. She locks eyes with him, temperature dropping to absolute 0, and asks the most painful question possible. Who are you? He freezes, realizing he completely skipped the intro tutorial. He tries to buffer a defense, but she shuts him down instantly. She runs this front desk, and he is just some weirdo disturbing the peace. Then, the air leaves the room. A gasp escapes her throat as the tension spikes to critical levels. She stares into his soul and the recognition hits her like a semi-truck. The database finds a match. She knows exactly who he is. Her hand twitches toward her pocket, a micro-movement betraying her intent. She is ready to deploy countermeasures before the other staff catch on. She delivers the final verdict. You are just like them. Oof. That is maximum emotional damage. He knows when he is outmatched. He apologizes for the intrusion and evacuates the lobby immediately. But the second he is gone, the mask cracks. She frantically scrubs her hands, desperate to wipe away the phantom sensation of his touch. This is not just rude, it is pathological. We are rewinding the tape. His brain is buffering hard and the files are corrupted. He cannot pull up the specific JPEG of what happened, but the raw data? It is just pure, unadulterated panic. He ditched class and hit the pavement, sprinting through the downpour like he is auditioning for the sad part of an early 2000s music video. The rain is soaking him to the bone, really selling the drama. He ran the numbers in his head and the probability of success was basically 0.01%. A complete throw. But logic is for cowards, so he full sent it anyway. Cut to the post-game lobby. Now he is sitting in the local cafe, forced to recount every agonizing detail of his massive L. Botan is absolutely feasting on his misery. She throws her hands up, screams "Youthai" and starts spinning in her chair like she just won the lottery of cringe. She is loving this way too much. She finally pauses the roast session just long enough to slide a cup of pity coffee across the table. Drink up, buddy. You are going to need the caffeine to survive this conversation. Then she starts the autopsy. She pulls out the receipts, projecting ideals, ignoring reality, and straight up imploding. Every word lands like a critical hit to his soul. Combo, combo, combo. He is taking massive damage here. She leans in and asks how the heartbreak tastes. He takes a sip of the bean juice. It is bitter. Wow. Who could have predicted that symbolism? He starts spiraling, trying to blame his loss on his quote-unquote scary eyes. My guy, you fumbled the bag because you have 0 Riz, not because of your genetics. Stop coping. She hits him with the million-dollar question. If he could change, would he? He admits he would reboot his whole system just to stop the suffering. We are getting deep in the chat now. The emotional damage is too high. His social battery is at 1%. He asks if he can just crash right there in the chair before he shuts down completely. Botan flashes a smile that does not reach her eyes and tells him to have a nice, long rest. I do not know why, but that sounded way more ominous than a nap should sound. Is she planning to send him to the lobby while he sleeps? Kasaneru finally reboots his system, blinking the crust out of his eyes. He checks the clock and his soul leaves his body. He calculates the late fees in his head and realizes he is way past checkout time. He tries to execute a tactical retreat back to base, but something feels off. He analyzes the wind resistance on his legs. It is a little too breezy down there. He freezes in front of the mirror and his brain throws a 404 error, masculinity not found. He is rocking a skirt, jewelry, the whole loadout. He looks like he lost a bet with the universe. While his brain is still buffering, Batan pops in to admire her masterpiece. She scans him up and down, looking at the chaos she created with zero regret. She starts hyping up her own skills like she just won a championship. He demands answers, but she ignores his panic to give a tutorial on eyeliner geometry. She is treating his face like a canvas. Then she drops the bomb. She giggles and admits she slipped him a sleeping pill so he would not squirm. That is absolute menace behavior. You stick a fork in him, he is done. She pins him down with his own logic. He said he wanted to change, right? Well, now he is shining like a diamond. He realizes he walked right into that one. She officially closes up shop and physically evicts him onto the street. He is terrified of the public server, looking around like a level 1 noob in a high-level zone. He is praying for a lag spike to save him. She just winks and tells him to own it. If he walks with confidence, the whole game changes. Batan is not just kicking him out, she is holding his inventory hostage. She swipes his uniform and slams the door, leaving him stranded in the lobby with absolutely zero gear. He tries to camp in the alleyway, but the map is way too crowded. He is stuck in a high-level zone wearing beginner armor, and the anxiety is real. He starts overthinking the strategy. He calculates that if he sneaks around like a goblin, he will look suspicious. So he decides to use man logic. The plan is a full frontal assault. He charges down the hallway with maximum confidence, figuring if he acts like he belongs, nobody will question the fit. But the public server is brutal. On the train, he feels 1,000 eyes drilling into him. One guy even calls him pretty. Talk about suffering from success. Inside his head, it is a disaster. He imagines Ayoi finding out and roasting him into oblivion. If that rumor spreads, his social life is officially deleted. Then, a wild toddler appears. The kid locks eyes with him, and Kasaneru braces for impact, expecting the usual scream of terror. But the kid smiles. They actually wave goodbye. He is stunned. Usually his scary face makes children scream and run for the hills. He realizes his charisma stat just got a massive buff. The world does not look like a threat anymore. He finally lifts his head. For years, he walked staring at the floor to hide his eyes, but now that he is looking up, the NPCs actually seem friendly. The texture pack of his reality just updated. He even admits it to himself. The cross-dressing is kind of breezy and nice. Wait, pause! Bro caught himself in 4K. He immediately tries to cancel that thought. He is not unlocking a new fetish today. He sprints for the safe house, terrified of getting clocked by a classmate and dying of cringe. But of course, the universe has perfect comedic timing. He spots someone ahead, and the panic meter hits critical. Fate really said bet. Of all the spawn points on the map, she is right here, Tokujira, standing alone like she is waiting for a cutscene to trigger. Kasaneru freezes, his brain completely short-circuiting as he tries to process the odds. He watches her walk away, and the atmosphere gets heavy. Something about her posture screams loneliness. The hero instinct kicks in hard, and he knows he has to say something before the moment passes. He opens his mouth to speak, but then the flashbacks hit him like a truck. She literally told him his existence was a mistake just a few hours ago. Yeah, never mind. He hits the abort button immediately to save his dignity. He turns to leave, but the sound of footsteps stops him cold. 3 NPCs roll up on her, and Kasaneru recognizes the uniforms instantly. It is the local goon squad looking for trouble. She tries to be polite, asking them to bounce. They just laugh in her face, calling her the Thorn Princess and mocking her for being cold. Absolute trash behavior from these guys. They start digging up old rumors just to get a reaction out of her. Then one idiot gets too comfortable and grabs her wrist. That is the red line right there. She goes nuclear. She screams, "Don't touch me," with enough force to crack the pavement. The guys actually recoil from the sheer pressure of her voice. The leader's ego bruises instantly. He winds up a massive slap, aiming right for her face to put her in her place. She flinches, closing her eyes and bracing for the pain. A loud crack echoes through the alley, but she is safe. Kateru dove in at the last second, tanking the hit with his face like an absolute unit. He ignores the stinging pain burning his cheek and screams, "Don't you dare lay a hand on a girl." The intimidation check is a critical success. The bullies realize they are in a losing battle and scramble away like roaches. Kateru grabs Tokujira's hand. Time for a tactical retreat before more show up. They scramble to safety. Tokujira checks her makeup, because priorities. Am I right? Then she turns the heat on him. She tears into him for acting reckless, reminding him that girls should not be throwing hands with thugs. She clocks the shiner on his face. Kateru tries to initiate a tactical retreat to avoid the interrogation, but she pulls the emergency brake. She grabs him, desperate to say something. That is when the dam breaks. Seeing those tears hits Kateru with a massive flashback. He rewinds to the library. He realizes he did not catch feelings because of some cliché eye contact. It was seeing her vulnerable, hiding her tears in the stacks, that sealed the deal. He wanted to be the one she could be real with. Back in the present, the air gets heavy. She asks for his name. He stammers out the name Itsuki. She immediately compliments his manly vibe and husky voice. Bro is fighting for his life to keep his cover intact, but the mood dips. She confesses she has a condition that hurts everyone around her. She thinks she is dangerous. Kateru clenches his fist. He is not scared. Then she drops the nuclear option. Will you be my first partner? Kateru's brain completely short-circuits. He does not even know what that means yet, but he knows his answer is yes. They decided to move their high-stakes war council to the most dangerous location on Earth, a local coffee shop. The smell of roasted beans mixed with the heavy tension in the air, creating a weirdly grim atmosphere for a caffeine run. He gave her one final exit ramp to escape his curse, watching her face closely for any micro-expressions of doubt. But Aioi stood like a statue. She didn't even blink. She looked him dead in the eye and confirmed she was absolutely locked in. That sheer confidence actually terrified him. Kateru swallowed a lump of fear the size of a golf ball, his internal monologue screaming that he had just crossed the point of no return. His stomach did a backflip. With the verbal contract signed and sealed, she signaled the start of their first official meeting. And just like that, the spooky operations team is open for business. It was time to settle the beef right here in the living room. The challenge was issued, and that silent nod confirmed it was game on. The atmosphere shifted instantly, turning a casual hangout into a gladiator match. They locked eyes immediately, engaging in high-stakes psychological warfare. Neither girl was willing to blink first. To blink is to admit weakness, and weakness gets you sent to the lobby of shame. But the pressure started mounting instantly. Sweat beaded down her face as her dry corneas started screaming for mercy. She was thinking, hold it together, do not let them see you crack. She gritted her teeth, fighting every biological instinct in her body, but biology always wins. The sheer physical agony forced her to jerk back in her seat, snapping her head back like she just took an invisible uppercut. They both folded like cheap lawn chairs. Tokujira threw up the white flag, gasping for air and begging for a timeout. Turns out, holding eye contact is an extreme sport for these two, and they were both completely gassed. Back in the neutral corner, Kateru tried to hide behind her straw. She sipped her drink like a lifeline, glancing sideways and praying for the floor to swallow her whole. The tension was thick enough to choke on. She started replaying the tape inside her head. She had to figure out how a simple hangout turned into a high-pressure interrogation. It all started 24 hours ago. Tokujira did not waste time with small talk. She dropped a tactical nuke right in the middle of the park, asking Kateru to be her first partner. Kateru's operating system crashed immediately. She recoiled like she had been slapped, eyes popping out of her skull. That is a heavy request for a Tuesday. Kateru's brain short-circuited and went straight to the gutter. He started stammering like a broken record, totally convinced she was asking for some spicy culture. In his head, he was already planning the honeymoon. Tokujira's processor lagged for 3 solid seconds before the realization hit her like a semi-truck. She frantically waved her hands, shutting down his weird fanfiction immediately. She looked at him like he just grew a second head. The mood in the room dipped faster than my bank account. She admitted she is basically a social recluse. She took a deep breath, the air heavy with awkward tension, steeling herself to drop the actual lore. Then, the truth came out. She is terrified of men. She cannot even look them in the eye without freezing up like a deer in headlights. Kasaneru, being the absolute genius he is, tried to comfort her by reaching out and got instantly slapped into the next zip code. But instead of being mad, he started celebrating. His logic was flawless. If she is just phobic, that means she did not ignore him out of malice. That is some absolute copium right there. It gets weirder. She explained that her phobia acts like a censorship filter. Every guy she sees looks like a faceless background NPC. Kasaneru finally understood why she never looked him in the eye. He was not being ghosted, he was just invisible. Then she dropped the tactical nuke. She asked him for a date. Kasaneru's soul left his body. She insisted it had to be him, and he started checking his outfit, convinced this was love at first sight. He was thinking, finally, my main character moment is here. Spoiler alert, it was not. She picked him because he looks manly enough to trigger her fear radar. She does not want romance. She wants a crash test dummy to help her get over her fear of dudes. You stick a fork in him, he is done. Kasaneru commits to the bit, cross-dressing as Itsuki just to share a table with her. But the stress is sending him straight to the lobby. He tries to play it cool, but the guilt and the proximity are making him nauseous. Inside his chest, his heart is pounding like a techno drum. He switches to therapist mode to assess the damage. He points out a waiter. She says no. He points to a harmless grandpa. Rejected. He even suggests a grade schooler. She shuts it down. Her fear isn't just men, it is anything with a Y chromosome. She thanks him for his kindness, calling him a saint. That hits him harder than a critical strike. He starts sweating bullets, knowing his kindness is just a long con to get a date. He screams internally about his ulterior motives while she looks at him with pure trust. She decides to ramp up the difficulty. The new mission is direct eye contact. She leans in, eyes sparkling with determination. Kasaneru fights for his life. He has zero experience with girls, and now he is locked in a staring contest with the final boss. The tension is suffocating. He tries to focus, analyzing the high-res details. He counts every strand of silky hair. He measures the length of those long lashes. He gets lost in the sauce. Suddenly, a drop hits the table. Panic erupts. It wasn't sweat. My man literally leaked ketchup from his nose just from looking at a pretty girl. Absolute glass cannon behavior. They decide to call it a day before he loses any more fluids. Before they split, they attempt the legendary contact exchange. It is painful to watch. They both realize they have zero friends and no idea how phones work. But after some fumbling, the mission is a success. He is officially in the system. He stares at the screen like he just unlocked a cheat code. Mission accomplished. But then the post-victory clarity hits. He realizes he is leveling up as a girl, but he already got rejected as a guy. It is a total identity crisis. He decides there is only one way forward. He needs to consult the chaotic neutral mastermind of the family. He pitches his sister Mario on a genius plan. He calls it exposure therapy. He claims he is helping his crush get over her fear of men by continuing to catfish her. It is for a good cause, right? She shuts that down instantly. It is a hard pass. Kasaneru tries to gaslight her, claiming she is the one who started this fashion arc, but Mario hits back with a roast. She thought he was just unlocking a new character skin, not running a long con on a classmate. She drops the boy who cried wolf fable on him. If he keeps playing pretend, nobody is going to believe him when it actually matters. That reality check hits different at 3 a.m. Every lie adds weight to the bar, and he knows he is too weak to lift it. When the truth comes out, he is absolutely cooked. Kasaneru sits in the dark, trying to hype himself up for the boss battle. He tells himself he is ready, but let's be real, that probably is doing a lot of heavy lifting. He calculates the odds. Trying to approach her as a guy, that is a 0% success rate. But he replays the tape in his head. She begged him not to laugh at her trauma, and he hit her with the million-dollar question. What comes after the fear is gone? And then the memory hits him in 4K. That day in the garden, she didn't just smile, she glowed. She admitted she wanted to experience love for real. That smile right there, that is the mission objective. He realizes he doesn't need to be the main character in her romance arc. He tells himself, I just want to keep that smile on the screen. It is pure, wholesome energy. Suddenly, Mario enters the chat, but something is wrong. Her face twitches like a corrupted file, her eyes roll back, and gravity slams her into the ground. A double stream of ketchup explodes out of her face. She is literally overdosing on the youthful vibes. She starts babbling about being an alien from planet Youth while Kasaneru watches in absolute horror. She ignores the massive ketchup loss and gets serious. Win or lose, she respects that he actually made a choice. She promises to spectate the whole match, so he better not hold back. He accepts the challenge, unaware of the truth. Mario isn't being supportive, she is just hungry for content. She starts jumping around the room, screaming about how much she loves high school drama, while Kasaneru realizes he is just entertainment to her.